And the bright Lord will be brought upon the earth and kill billions unless Will Smith and Joel Edgerton can stop it from happening. Hey guys, it's G from the F Word here to review Bright. Now, Bright is a new Netflix original movie directed by David Ayer, stars Will Smith and Joel Edgerton. Also, Noomi Rapace as our villain. In Los Angeles, and this time, the humans live among orcs and elves. Or orcs and elves live among humans. They coexist, they have their jobs, they live amongst the people. Elves have their own elf town, they're super rich, they've got all these high-end stuff. Orcs live pretty much like you typically see gangsters living. They don't really portray them as high status because they're orcs and I guess they're ugly and that's the way they wanted to show them. So you've got kind of your human gangsters, you've got your orc gangsters, and you got your super higher ups, which are your elves, and then the humans are kind of sandwiched in. As I said, Will Smith and Joel Edgerton star in this. Joel Edgerton does play an orc named Jakoby. He is the only, I think, orc, or one of the few orcs that are police officers. He shaved down his fangs because all orcs have fangs that come out to about here, but he shaved them down so he can be like, hey, I just want to get along with everybody. Everything's great. Please accept me, because humans don't accept them. Humans don't even accept the elves who are of higher status. They just don't like anybody that's not human. Sound familiar? Will Smith is his partner, reluctant partner that it has to ride with him. He's been issued to ride with him. This harkens back to a lot of those older shows that you have seen in movies where you have a white police officer and a young black police officer, and there's obviously some tension. So it's very, very reminiscent of that type of storyline. In this case, you've got humans and orcs versus black and white. Noomi Rapace plays the villain. She plays a Bright, and now the Brights have wands and they're elves, if I remember correctly, and they're trying to bring the Bright Lord back so he can just wipe everybody out, wipe out all the orcs, wipe out all the humans, and then he could take over and they can all live in their world that they want to create. And Will Smith and Joel Edgerton stumble upon a Bright and a wand, and they have to protect this Bright and have her help them while trying to help each other and get on this journey of being reluctant heroes to stop these Brights from bringing the Bright Lord. And then we have our movie. So good things about this. Will Smith and Joel Edgerton have really good chemistry together. I liked the writing that they had, or I like the banter that they had. A lot of times they're in the police car, just the two of them. It feels very natural. It feels very cool. You got Will Smith, who doesn't really like this guy, but he kind of respects him for sticking it out and dealing the shit that he has to deal with. And then you've got Jakoby, who is just, he looks up to him and he just wants to be accepted. And he's funny, and they got really good quips together, and it's got that witty kind of banter between the two of them, very sarcastic, very ball busting type of dialogue between the two of them, which was pretty funny and pretty good at some points. Makeup and special effects in this were really good. The elves don't look like super CGI elves. They look very natural, and the orcs as well don't look like they've got a bunch of shit all over them. They look like orcs, of course, but a kind of simpler, dumber down version of what an orc would look like, which really works in this world, in living in the world that's there. Obviously, you've got your occasional orcs who are more grizzled and older and have a bunch of other stuff, but for the most part, they don't actually stand out as much, which was a really big thumbs up for this one, because both the elves and the orcs and the humans look like they coexist and live there. And one does not stand out as much as you'd think as the other. The rest of the dialogue was fine. A lot of the setting was, it's in LA. A lot of it's shot in these small confined spaces, which was done pretty well. It didn't feel as claustrophobic as you'd think. There is one scene in a bar where there was a lot of people in there and you kind of didn't know what was going on, but for the most part, the setting and the structure of the settings worked out pretty good. Music cues were really good in this too. They kind of blended a bunch of different types of, music styles in this. It's not nearly as over the top as in Suicide Squad, which felt like an overdone music video. This actually works with what they're doing. And of course, Will Smith and Joel Edgerton themselves, Noomi Rapace, some of the other actors and actresses in there did do a pretty good job. This is a pretty by the numbers type of situation here. It's trying to be Training Day, but not really being Training Day. It's trying to have a little bit of that Fifth Element vibe in there with the Bright that they find, who doesn't really speak much. She kind of goes in hiding and then all of a sudden can kick ass. There's a lot of elements that they pull from different styles, and it feels like it doesn't really hit the mark on all of those styles. It doesn't miss entirely, but it's kind of, you look at yourself, it's like, oh, it's trying to be like this and it's trying to be like that. It doesn't feel like it's its own thing. And this is a pretty cool and interesting concept. When I first heard of it, I was like, this sounds really awesome. It just didn't really hit the mark as much. The racial undertones and what they're trying to convey, the message is really beaten down. And it's a message that obviously is topical always and will always be topical, but it really plays hard in this, and it's really being pushed a little bit in that too. Originally I thought this was going to be a completely over the top and ridiculous story. It wasn't as bad. It has a little bit of trouble coming together, and it's got that bombastic finish to it with, prophecies and kind of stuff like that. But again, you'll get to it when you see it. I think it's pretty decent. You don't have to rush out to see this. I don't think it deserves the hate that it's been getting online, because I've seen a lot of people not liking it, calling it all stupid and over the top and everything. And yeah, there are some parts like that, but it's not a bad movie by any means. I definitely think it's way better than Suicide Squad, but it's definitely not as good as Fury, another David Ayer project. Will Smith does bring it as Will Smith does, but it just seems like he's just being Will Smith. Joel Edgerton, I think, is the biggest standout on this, and he does a really good job. The villain, again, is just there. They don't really establish a really solid villain that we have to worry about. You never feel worried. You just feel like you're kind of following the steps that are going on. So, I don't know. It's not going to be the biggest waste of your time. If you're just chilling out at night, want to check something out, I would check this out. It's definitely not the worst thing that you're going to watch. It's definitely not the best thing you're going to watch. It's kind of in that middle. If you have seen it, if you are planning on seeing it, if you're excited to see it, let me know in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. You could follow me on Twitter at the F-words-G. Follow Entertain Facts on Instagram, and we'll catch you next time. I'm G, and I'm out.